Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fifth talk in the Only One Theme talk series in the Wave 4. Today's topic is Only Market Opportunities Navigator, Identifying Markets for Technology Ideas. And our speaker for today is Mr. Sundara Nagarajan, fondly called as SN. SN, welcome to the session. But before I hand over the stage to you, I'm going to introduce you briefly for those people who have not attended your last session. SN is the Managing Director of Innovation ScaleUp Investors, ISA, an enterprise development firm that helps innovation-driven enterprises grow business outcomes. ISA's clients are digital businesses, enterprises in digital transformation, deep tech startups, incubators, and investors. SN is an accomplished senior technologist with over 3 decades of experience in large global enterprises such as Wipro, Philips, HP, NetApp, and a few early stage companies. He is also an author of the book titled This Book is Not for Edison, which is aimed towards first time technology entrepreneurs. With this brief introduction, welcome once again to the session and thank you for making time today in spite of your bad health. Welcome to the session and handing over the session to you.
Thank you, Mugdha. I'm just trying to share my screen. You may have to allow me for that.
Yeah, you can check once again.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So good afternoon and welcome to this session. This session forms a part of 3 sessions. And ideally, I would have liked this session to come first than the previous one. But that's okay. If you have missed the previous session, you can find the recording on YouTube. This session is going to focus purely on what is called Market Opportunity Navigator. It's a specific tool, and we will get into details on this. But before I jump into the details of my presentation and talk today, I would like to apologize to you that I have a pretty bad throat. There is some infection, so I did not want to cancel this event, therefore I'm here. I'll try to talk soft as I'm doing now. I hope you are able to hear me okay. And in case I decided finally I had to cough up the knowledge, then I may have to stop this session. You will get the whole deck so that you can learn yourself. But the good part of this particular topic, the good part of this particular topic is I would like to introduce the creators of Market Opportunity Navigator to you. That is Professor Mark Gruber and Sharon Toll. They have done a wonderful job of organizing material, training material, experts, all of that around Market Opportunity Navigator. So even if I don't cover this whole session, and I had to stop this in 15 minutes, you can still be not lost much because they have done a wonderful job of this. Professor Gruber and Sharon worked as part of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. And they did this work around 2016 is when it started getting popular in public. I'm sure they started the work before. So the important website to go is wheretoplay.com, .co, not com. This is an excellent source with very well organized resources and support. They have also certified experts. I am one of the certified experts in India. So you can look at the list of experts to know any other expert in your area. You're welcome to look through that. And you're also welcome to reach out to me. And wheretoplay.co is actually a web application that you can use seriously in your startup. It works well. I have used it for more than 50 opportunities, and therefore it's a well-proven and one of the best tools that I have come across for my academic kind of a source. Okay. So I'm going to do this session a lot more focused on giving you the context. Where do you apply Market Opportunity Navigator? And how does it fit into the overall technology transfer and startup process? and some sharing good practices that I have learned through my own application and experience. I will definitely cover the basics, but you can go a lot of depth going to the website and the book and everything. So, what is the motivation in the context of India? See, research commercialization has been a big challenge for India. But at the same time, I would not like to think that India, everything is negative. I would like to say that Indians have done much better than most other countries in terms of innovation output, considering the input. We are one of the lowest in terms of R&D investments in the private sector or even in the government. And in terms of the research work, we are handicapped for many, many years by being distant, and internet made a big difference. Indian researchers could get closer to the international research. And with all the changes happening in the research ecosystem, Indians are no less. We have come to a rank of 39th overall. And I would always like to remind ourselves of 1947, where we started. And considering that, I would like us to be number one, of course, but 39 is not bad. And we have done the best that we can with whatever resources we have. Our domestic patent filings are increasing, and one of the reasons why our patent filings have been bad is the awareness was very low. Patents were not known here for a very long time. Only post 2000, companies or individuals or even academicians started filing patents and considered that important. So the patent filing has been improving a lot. 45,000 to 47,000 patents for inventions out of India in the last year. Not bad. Okay, but a significant commercialization gap exists. So people don't know how to convert R&D from either research institutions, academics, or enterprises, private enterprises into economic value. So that's what Market Opportunity Navigator will help you with. Okay, so that's the reason this is important. I will be talking both about deep tech startups and technology-led ventures. Uh, Basically, to say that the deep tech startups are funded by a venture capitalist or the entrepreneur themselves self-fund it, whereas technology-led ventures are referring to companies which are big companies, maybe SMEs or larger corporations, who are either trying to do diversification or they are trying to transform themselves. They are doing a business transformation. So that's basically what it means. And all of these are common when I say technology venture. Now, they are not sufficiently integrating technology transfer as an option to monetize their innovation or even source innovation. You can either give out your innovation or you can source innovation from others to build a business. So licensing, that is broadly what technology transfer is all about. And partnering are viable business strategy choices Indian enterprises and Indian businesses are not adequately using. That's a sad situation, but again, I think it is more to do with building the awareness and building the trust. And as the trust gets built, this will improve. And again, Market Opportunity Navigator helps this entire process. Now, let us understand there's a lot of confusion about deep tech. Who is a deep tech company? So, let me clarify some of those and how exactly the nature of science and technology based startups work. There are four quadrants here, as you can see. X-axis of the quadrant is the practical applications. That is how immediate is the application required. Immediacy of the commercialization. Is the market asking for this? Okay. On the other hand, on the Y-axis, it basically signifies the effort required. Is it something that requires basic science, technological, industrial research? Is it required? Or it is reasonably trivial to put together a solution. Okay, so it's low. So just like any other XY axis, low and high. Origin is zero and other axes are the higher value. So if you look at the four quadrant approach here, I will take a simple example to explain this more easily for you. Imagine somebody is inventing a vaccine for a disease. Say we recently had COVID and COVID vaccine was invented, right? That forms a deep tech innovation because it is use inspired. We know the application. If you If we can find a vaccine for COVID, we can solve that problem. So the use is clearly there. Another example is, can I fly from Delhi to San Francisco in 3 hours? Clear. The requirement is absolutely clear. If you can do it, there is a market for it. There are people waiting for it. Right? A clear pathway to commercialization exists. No confusion there. And we call this the pasture quadrant, respecting Louis Pasteur. Right? Now, to the left of that, where the practical applications are not very well understood or even imagined, but somebody is doing scientific research, aiming to create knowledge and no commercial goal. They don't even have any idea of how it can be used, right? Maybe a mathematics professor trying to research in solving certain algorithm. Yeah, this is called the Bohr quadrant. Okay, typically happens in academic research. Industry, it just doesn't happen. No one supports these kind of researches. Even in academic research, if you look at India, the quality of this rapidly drops. If we take the overall education institutions across the country, like everything else, we have a very long tail. So we have outstanding research happening out of a few national level top institutions like Indian Institute of Science, IIT Madras, or other IITs, BITS Pilani, all that. So there are people who are doing world-class research, and they are probably not less to anyone in the world in their own area of work. And we have all our scientific laboratories, DRDO and other kind of laboratories, ISER Pune, which hosts quantum technology innovations. So these are all people who are working at the cutting edge of academic research, or broadly what you can term it as industrial research. So we will have some more clarity of all these terms in the next slide. What is a science work or technology work or industrial work and so on. Okay. So that's what is happening on the y-axis. So Bohr quadrant doesn't have any commercialization objective or not even feasible. Then we have the deep tech we talked about and the fundamental research we talked about. Let's talk about application innovation. This is what happens most of the time. So here it is commercial ready, de-risked technology. There's an immediate market opportunity. So an example of this could be seen every day. A new startup will start with this every day. They will say they are a AIML startup, or they are a generative AI startup, or they are creating generic drugs. There will be always companies starting because there is a new disruptive technology that has come, which probably come out of a deep tech innovation. Okay, and that is what is fanning this. So today, if you hear people saying we are an AI startup, they're mostly based on generative AI. Most of generative AI technology is not done in India. Uh, it's basically done by others, and we are using that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, we can use artificial intelligence technologies for a lot of practical purposes. And whenever there is a new capability like this that comes up, there are millions of applications, that can benefit from that. So most of the Indian startups, so-called tech startups, are application innovation, and that is the Edison quadrant. And that is also why I have also called my book, this book is not for Edison, because Edison lived in a golden decade of 1890 to 1900. And that decade was supported by electricity, invention of electricity. So a fundamental technology like electricity can now fan several applications. And as a result, he had 1,000 patents in his life. Okay. And he was perhaps the highest number of patents in for a very long time. But Edison was also very clearly an application innovator. He was not a deep tech innovator, and he was also a businessman. So he knew how to approach the market. As an anecdote, I can tell you, when they invented a movie, when we say Edison invented, it is Edison's lab. Okay, so it's not necessarily only Edison personally. So when they invented movies, he could not imagine what the application can be. He never was very gung-ho about taking movies or the movie camera or the projector into the market, because he was saying, who needs this? Why would anybody want this? Yeah, today we understand how movie industry has become and how impactful that particular application was. Let me go to the next slide, which talks, kind of concludes this part of the context setting. So how do we deliver value of science and technology breakthroughs? So at the core of everything is a philosophical question. What is the value of science and technology? What is the value of science and technology? What is the value of technology? What is the value of science and technology? What is the value of science and technology? What is the value of science and technology? What is the value of 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 technology? What is the or a scientific inquiry, which is seeking to discover, understand, and perhaps end up in inventing something. Okay, so at that stage, they really don't have deep commercial understanding whatsoever. Okay, so that results in a technology component or a platform. So I will take an example to illustrate this as we speak. Okay, now this technology component, when combined with a few other technology components, you can create products. These products are what Market Opportunity Navigator calls as applications. So the term application here means how do you apply this technology, combining it with other things to make a product which somebody can use. And the products, when combined, delivers a service. This is what gives customer the experience. It is delivered as a service. And the customer actually doesn't care about a product or a service. They care about what they call the JTBD of their own. The customers don't buy any product. They basically hire. Okay, and they are willing to switch. Customers just switch. We had STD booths in India. Today there are no STD booths because we have mobile, right? So people want to communicate. That's what they want. So if you see the picture here, you can see that somebody is taking a photo using a camera. Here they are doing that with a mobile phone. So what do customers really want? What do people really want? They want to freeze their memorable moments. They would like to recall their memorable moments. In some form, they want to store it. That's the JTBD, job to be done. Okay. They don't want to take photos. They don't want to take pictures. That is not necessarily what they want. If there is a different way to freeze their memories, freeze their nice moments, they would do that. So for you to understand Market Opportunity Navigator or any such deep tech startup related concepts well, you have to also necessarily understand the related concepts. So jobs to be done, we are not going to go into depth today. There is a reference I have given you. Please refer to that. Okay. Customer experience is that helps the early adoption of a product, something that you are doing in a new way. Okay, that adoption, the early adoption happens because of customer experience. How easily somebody can install and use something. Okay, you might remember in your own experience, so many applications that you would have installed in your mobile, and then you never used it. Okay, so what is important is customer success. Customer success is the only one that ensures the transformation of life is complete. That is, earlier I was using camera to take pictures with films. Now I am using mobile phones and I don't want to go back to that. The previous thing, I never want to go back. I'm completely shifted now. Okay. So that is what customer success is about. Okay. And the transformation is complete, which is a lagging indicator. Generally, customer success happens much later after you purchase a product or a service, right? So an innovator must make several choices. An innovator who comes up with an idea, and what is called the business strategy is where to play, how to win. Yeah. So that is where Market Opportunity Navigator fits in. It helps you to determine where to play. So let me give you an example, just to sort of make it easy for you to understand what I'm saying. In 1679, uh, one French physicist called Denis Papin, okay, he invented a product and demonstrated in the lab. It was called steam digester. Okay, steam digester basically used physics principles, which basically said under high pressure, liquid boiling point will go up. So water, instead of boiling at 100 degrees centigrade, will boil at 120 degrees centigrade. He demonstrated this. And he had a safety device on the steam digester, so that if the pressure exceeds, then there's a likelihood of explosion. It releases that steam and keeps it safe. So this is a fundamental scientific invention that happened in 1679. Okay, you can imagine what this is. This is a home pressure cooker that you use for cooking food every day. And obviously, he also started with that application. And it was a lot of adoption for that because cooking meat was always very difficult. Breaking up the proteins was hard. So with higher pressure cooking and processing the food, so that became the most important application. But he himself, along with another gentleman, Thomas Sarvey, they demonstrated later that you can move a piston using steam under pressure. So it basically lifted a weight using the steam coming out of this digester, right? Now that is the beginning of steam engine. And there are so many such applications that went after that, right? Now, with the same idea of technology, you can use it to sterilize equipment. And Louis Pasteur in the 1860s, she came up with this idea that what is called the germs theory, right? Germs theory basically said infections happen because of germs. And initially, they came up for sterilizing the surgical instruments. They came up with chemicals. So they applied chemicals and so on. But within a few years, within a couple of years, they discovered the opportunity with steam and the digester in a different form. And there was no looking back, right? So that application probably has a much better profit potential because it is involving life, whereas the first one is more of a consumer product, right? So you can imagine the kind of that application has more profit potential there. Now, the other important thing to understand is how economics works, right? Customers pay for the experience level. So the customer will buy a ticket for an airline and hopefully will fly and travel, right? That's the experience level. And that experience is delivered by so many products working together. The aircraft itself is a very complex system. On top of it, the airline traffic, air traffic control, ticketing, managing reservations, all of that are products and services, which are what is powering that airline ticket. Yeah. And behind that, there are innovations and technologies coming every day, which improves this. But the money the consumer pays to the airline finally trickles down to the product. So it's always a small percentage of money that is flowing together. So you can take an economic analysis of this and say, if I'm getting $1 at the end of this end, that is the people end, what is that the technology component or the platform will earn? Okay. As you can imagine, it will be very small. It will be probably 5% or maybe less, depending on what kind of technology you have. Now, what is important is that that 5% is for that one application. But the technology could be applied to many other applications. They all can generate their own revenue streams. And as a result, the companies that do deep technology work tend to be much more valuable. Not only that, they do deep technology work and probably become a product company. Examples are Intel, Nvidia, ARM. All these are companies which are product companies, but they are also doing deep technology research, right? And those companies are also very, very valuable because they are powering so many applications in the world, right? So India has to get there. India doesn't have many deep technology companies as we can claim. But at the same time, I would certainly claim Reliance Petroleum, largest petrol refinery in the world, is certainly a deep tech project in India. UPI is a deep tech project that happened in India. The entire other system, India stack, and everything that goes with it. So these are true deep tech uh, programs, and the economic impact is obvious. Reliance is the richest company in India, or maybe even the world, among the richest companies. Whereas UPA, other, if it were to be a commercial project, I'm sure it would have been hugely, economic value could have been huge. But see the economic value it is creating for the community as a result of this being a public infrastructure, public digital infrastructure. So deep tech is the only one that can create major technology shifts. And that's why this is important. Let me stop here for a minute because I'm just going to get into the next steps. Any questions on this so far? Anybody has any questions? Quick. No questions? Let's go ahead. This is something I want to explain to you. And this happens in most of the application innovation cases. What happens in most of the cases, as I said, 80% of the startups or 90% of the startups are application innovations. Let us take an example of a startup, which wants to build a product using blockchain. Now, blockchain is an emerging technology. It has zillions of applications. So this company can get lost on what should I use, what should I not use, where should I go? It becomes a big issue. They will be just confused. What using blockchain will I do? Now, one of my friends who's a supply chain expert, he perceived that blockchain could power the supply chain very differently and deliver a lot of value. So you can think that he has narrowed down now. And he has narrowed down to one small area called supply chain. But then he comes up every day with a new idea. Oh, supply chain can do this problem. It can do the other problem. This is the third problem. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, you get lost. What should I do? Even in supply chain plus blockchain, you may probably have 100 opportunities. Yeah. So how do I choose? Which should I pursue first? What am I supposed to do? Yeah. So whenever we are talking about a major public technology disruption that has come, and that is changing everything in the world. Okay. You have to go through what is called the hype cycle. Gartner invented this many years ago, and you should learn how to read this hype cycle. Okay. Now, again, today I don't want to cover that in detail, but the basic way to understand is they will put here all the various technology elements of it. Within blockchain, there'll be smart contract. Within blockchain, there'll be non-fungible tokens. So various technology pieces within that, they will plot this on this curve. Where are they? Okay, so every innovation, according to them, there is a innovation trigger. Then it's a peak of inflated expectations. So people think, as people think today, that generative AI will replace everybody and we will not sit at home and just get government pension. It's just not going to happen. Okay, but that is the peak of inflated expectations on generative AI. Yeah. Now it goes through what is called the trough of disillusionment. Then these projects fail. And I can already hear that. Already I'm hearing many AI projects are failing. US stock market is dropping very badly because AI companies are not doing well. All that is starting to, that's the so-called trough of disillusionment. Okay. From that, it goes to what is called the slope of enlightenment. So that's where you can say, okay, this is a good application where I can apply this and that can deliver practical economic value. And finally, it comes to what is called the plateau of productivity, where it is productively applied in important projects, right? So choosing what technology, even if you're working in an area like I'm entering into blockchain or entering into generative AI or entering into molecule invention or whatever is your choice of technology, you have to basically look at, where are they in the maturity curve and then choose what is practical to take to market now. Okay, so this is the overall canvas of the modern startup process. People call it the lean startup. Uh, you can also apply this to deep tech companies, or you can apply this to application technology companies, or you can apply this in the context of technology transfer. If you're a researcher, you're a PhD scholar, you're an inventor. So you can apply in all these contexts. So what you need to understand first is how does a business happen? The business starts with an idea. That's where it happens. So what is an idea? An idea is a solution to a problem. So the innovator comes up with the idea that I will solve this problem is this way. Yeah. So there is a match between a technology and a problem. So what is a technology? The technology is a capability that you're getting. It's as simple as that. The ability to elevate the temperature of water boiling point from 100 degrees to 150 degrees under pressure. That is the capability. I convert that into solving problem of cooking meat or sterilizing equipment, whatever. That's the problem I'm trying to solve. That's the idea. That's the business idea. Now, market opportunity navigator fits exactly there. So identify the opportunities, evaluate the opportunities, prioritize them. Okay, how do we do that? That is exactly what market opportunity navigator does. And this leads to what is called the market space analysis. So this is where you go and discover how much is the commercial value of what I'm doing, right? And that commercial analysis also impacts your business model development. How do you develop the business model? And the business model development, the tool is business model canvas. So you would have heard about it, you would have used it in some places and so on. Now come here back, technology idea problem. Once you have had this clarity, you are as a technical guy, you think that this can be solved. Your most important step is not product development. The most important step is customer discovery. So customer discovery is where you find out who really wants it. I'm assuming this person needs this, but do they really want it? So it is a problem exploration. You are going and talking to them about their problem space, how serious that is. So from customer development, we go to customer discovery, we go into customer development. So customer development is what you do from here to business model fit. So customer development is an important key process of a startup, and it must be executed by the founder, whoever has the key idea. It is not something you can delegate to a sales guy. It just doesn't work. This is about listening. This is not about pitching. So don't get me wrong. So customer development is about understanding the problem space, creating that problem solution fit, and then doing product development. The product development is done through what is called the agile engineering. Okay, so these are the TRL levels 4 to 9. Okay, again, I'm not going to discuss TRL in detail. Technology readiness level is from NASA. It is an interesting model which allows you to discover where you are. Okay, so TRL 3 means you are in the lab, you are working, you have a POC working in the lab. Okay, so from that's the ideal point to start using Market Opportunity Navigator. But you can use it anytime. If you're more mature, you can still use it. It's not that it can't be. But if you can use it at TRL 3 level, you can also decide whether I want to do technology transfer, should I start a company, should I do a spin-off? All these questions get answered. Right. So you get to problem solution fit first, because now this is in a certain context. That is why it's a TRL levels are higher now. Okay. Value proposition is what you talk about. What is your product doing? Product market fit is what you want to achieve. And once you have done these three, it is where to play, how to win. That is basically what you are thinking. And from product market fit, you want to get into business model development and also finally business model fit. Okay, so this is the startup process, and this is where Market Opportunity Navigator fits in. Effectuation, I will not talk in more detail. Just click the link, go and study it. It's an amazing a set of research happened there on how startup entrepreneurs think. It is more about the entrepreneurial expertise. So please go and refer to that. Now we are getting a little deeper into the science and technology innovations. So the term Market Opportunity Navigator is using are the terms I'm going to use most, because it helps you to sort of relate to that. So science and technology advances help build abilities. They use the term abilities. And remember, Market Opportunity Navigator is from Switzerland and done by Europeans. Okay, so therefore, the language selection is not like Americans. I'm not saying one is right or wrong, it's simply different. Okay, it is like Indians will choose, say, Sanskrit words or Hindi words, or what is related to their own mother tongue, right? So they use the word abilities, which basically mean organizational capability or core competence. Core competence is the again, as a body of knowledge. C.K. Prahlad is credited with. Okay, and he has written a nice Harvard Business Review article, which I have given you as a reference. Understand that. So, core competence is an organization's competence or a technology's competence. So, we will talk both, because here we are talking about technology. We are not so much talking about organization. Okay, but to understand the concept, it's better to understand it together. So, organizational core competencies is what it does, what the capability is, and not how it works. Okay, so cooking food under pressured steam is what it does. Now, how it does it do, we don't have to worry about that. It's a combination of technology elements and people and resource elements. Finally, you deliver it with people. Every organization is a bunch of people serving a bunch of people. That's how you have to see it. It's a people business. Okay, it's not a technology business. Okay, there are a bunch of people trying to solve problems for a bunch of people, and in return they get paid. So that's how organizations work. So the technology elements, or what are the inventions or the unique, sometimes we use the word differentiated value proposition, right? Is that what is a breakthrough technology? Do you have a breakthrough technology? The example I gave, steam digester already in 1679. In 2025 or 2023, you can say it started from 2023, it is generative AI. It's a breakthrough technology. It will impact so many things, right? Or you might have just done an incremental problem solving, which also has a value. It might improve the performance, it may improve the reliability or any of that. So research outcomes, which are basically proof of concepts in the lab environment, algorithms, new materials that you invent, new processes that you invent, all these are technology capabilities or abilities. Then we talk about subsystems. The organizations might have built subsystems which are powerful and can be applied in multiple areas. So a simple example I can tell you is somebody who makes the mechanism for a switch. Okay, the mechanism for the switch may be useful in some other mechanical application, so they can sell that mechanism as it is. Then you also have know-how. Sometimes it is not any of the technologies, but it's more the people and the process. Okay, so they have proprietary methods, skills, diagnostic expertise, whatever that is, right? Manufacturing process and tools. So all of these are, technology elements. The resources and assets are also, organizational core competencies, and they can therefore take different strategies. So we are not going to get into the organization asset part today. We are going to look at the technology elements today because that's the focus for today. Let's talk about somebody who invented a hammer. This is what happens in a PhD research or a academic R&D or whatever. As I said earlier, they started in the Bohr quadrant. They did not start with a problem. They started with so they wanted to invent a solution. So as this lady is saying, I have invented the hammer, now what? Okay, and she is trying a lot of ideas on the wall, as you can see, right? So she has basically invented that she can create more impact, more force as a result of a leverage, right? And obviously the Stone Age. So that's a technology, that's a capability that they have formed. And she is working with her colleagues to think what can we do. So the ideas are like we can use it in war, as a weapon, okay, to hit on somebody's head, okay. And Hanuman carries one such in a slightly improvised fashion, right? So we can do that, or we can do a sledgehammer, which can be used to, demolish rocks or whatever I want to do. Or I can do very minute things. I want to carve. Okay, I want to carve a statue out of it, and it can be a very small, very specialized type of hammer. So these are all the opportunities they have. So ability-enabled application is what is called a value proposition. Okay, so you have the ability which enables an application of that ability, which is a value proposition for somebody. So the market opportunity, what we are saying, is a combination of ability-enabled application and customer subsegment. This combination is what is called a market opportunity. And the market space is a collection of all those opportunities. Okay. And the market opportunity indicates a revenue stream. That's the indicator of that. Yeah, I can get paid for that. Yeah. I can create a short list of opportunities if there are too many. So let us take the example of my friend who is doing supply chain with blockchain. He has to make a subset and finally come up with an opportunity which he feels he can go ahead because he has 100 ideas and you cannot deal with 100 ideas. So how do you make that choice? Most of the time, the first level of prioritization, actually Market Opportunity Navigator allows you to do a very rigorous way of making this choice and prioritization. But at this stage, we are just doing the first level. One of the reasonable things to do are considerations like how easy is for me to find a customer. Okay, how quickly can I talk to someone to understand and validate that particular application? Okay. Second thing is, if I have two choices, which is likely to be more profitable, which is likely to be more easily adopted. So use your own strategic choices to reduce that to a short list of about, in my view, about 6 to 10 is the maximum you should do. If you do six, it'll be wonderful at this stage itself. But what is important to understand is at this stage, you're mostly operating intuitively. Okay, so if you want to put data behind it, you can take more. And the Market Opportunity Navigator also is bringing in their research, they are bringing AI behind it. So once they bring AI, probably AI can aid you to shortlist from 100 to 10 or 6 in a much better way. So I don't exactly know their roadmap yet, but I can see that they're using AI in the background to sort of support the the MON, Market Opportunity Navigator, more. Okay. So this is the step one. So the step two is to evaluate. This is called the attractiveness map. Here you evaluate the potential and challenge. So potential is what is the market potential, financial potential of this? And there are examples here, compelling reason to buy, market volume, economic viability, these kind of things. And the idea of Delta 4, I have given the article here, Kunal Shah's article, you can go and refer to this. It's basically an idea that if people want to switch from the current way of doing to the future way of doing, in his model, he basically says they should score at least minimum 4 points Delta. Suppose they say our current experience of doing this is 1. They should at least score 6 or 7 or for at least 5 for that change to become permanent. So the example he gives is you could go to the railway station and book a ticket, rail ticket, versus online booking. Okay, when the online booking came, people did not want to go back to railway station and stand in the queue because the delta was so high. The difference is so high. So that's the essence of this idea. So it talks about this economic viability, what's the margin that you can expect, willingness and ability to pay, all of that. Challenges are again implementation obstacles, time to revenue, external risks, all that. Okay. Now, what is important to understand here is potential is almost entirely outside you. Okay, you don't have any control on that. Okay, it is external to the value provider, or the commercial venture or the individual. Whereas the challenges are partially external, not fully. Some of those challenges are solvable with internal changes. Say, for example, let's talk about the external risks, right? So external risks are not in my control. But my risk mitigation, how will I solve the risk if it happens? It is in my control. And for that, I need resources. If I don't have money, if I don't have resources, I cannot do it. Right? So I can say the challenge is high. But at the moment I get funded, I get money, suddenly that challenge becomes low. Right? So you can see that the challenge needs to be managed. It's also dynamic. It's not something that stays forever to be true. So this is how you make a analysis here. So X, Y versus Y, you have potential versus challenge, and the examples are gold mine. Okay, this is very high in terms of potential and very low in terms of challenge. Right. So this is a gold mine opportunity. So obviously something to try first. Right. And quick wins are both low. Yeah, these are something I can do today in an easy way. For example, what I am doing, right? Innovation Scale-Up Advisors is a company that helps clients who are entrepreneurs or larger organizations to become better performers in terms of profitability, scalability, all of that, and for creating new ventures. This is what we do. But today we deliver this as training programs like what I'm doing now, or we do consulting engagements, we do advisory engagements. So that is because it's a quick win. I can easily execute it, challenges are low. But everything that I do and my organization does, about 50% at least, we could deliver it as a software service. That way we will be scalable globally. But that requires a lot of funding, a large team, a totally different level of leadership, all of that, right? So yeah, at some point that can happen. So that is what I call a moonshot. So the moonshot is where the impact is also very high and the effort is also very high. But most important thing to understand while doing moonshot projects is it calls for entrepreneurial expertise. So somebody who doesn't have a high degree of entrepreneurial talent, natural talent, will find it very hard to do moonshot. That is why Elon Musk is doing it. That is why Bhavesh Agarwal is doing it. Right? So these are individuals who are able to raise money by exciting people on outcomes they themselves cannot define. Yeah. But still people fund them millions of dollars. And in fact, recently Elon Musk also got a very big salary package. So all that happens because they are outstanding entrepreneurial expertise. And we don't know the nuances of it unless you actually work with that individual, right? From a distance and from the media, you can never know the person. So the people who are investing in their ventures are not fools. They are people who also know business very, very well. So to be able to get funding at a very large level, you have to step up your entrepreneurial expertise. And for that, it is possible. If you have the natural talents, it can do extremely well. There are methodologies to step up your entrepreneurial expertise. But if you don't have a lot of natural talents, then you may have to probably have other colleagues who can complement you in those capabilities, and you can always achieve that. Okay. So if you see the example of Mr. Naranamurthy, right? He himself is an outstanding entrepreneurial person. He started from an idea and took all the way up to market leadership. Then you see a range of people after him. Each one of them could run the company. Each one of them legend on their own name, like Nandan Nelikani or Chris Gopalakrishnan or any of them. Right. So putting together a team of that caliber is very important for moonshots. That is when moonshot happens. The same is true also with Sridhar Vembu of Soho. And you can go and if you try to understand internally, you will see how they have built that organization with a very high entrepreneurial expertise. So moonshot, if your project becomes a moonshot project, definitely take help. Work with incubators, work with the people who are in business. Otherwise, license the technology. You may not be the best person to realize it. See, just take the example of someone who invents something about petroleum refineries. It's better for him to license it to Reliance than trying to build a petroleum refinery themselves, because it's a very capital intensive project to do. Yeah. And then these questionable ones. Questionables are definitely not something people should jump in to do immediately. But what are these? These are also sometimes very legitimate opportunities. Say, for example, I want to help educating the blind in India. That's my passion. And I have discovered and invented technologies that can make it much better to do. But the 40 million blinds in this country are mostly poor. They are not going to afford expensive equipment or anything like that, right? So that business may not be very economically viable, okay, even though these devices may be very interesting, right? There, what you do, obviously look for a business model innovation. A business model innovation is absolute must. So can I get funding from, let's say, corporate social responsibility funds? Can we get other means? Somebody can donate these devices to the blind people, okay, and donate to the blind schools, right? So there are requirements of business model innovation, particularly in the questionable ventures. Okay. Now the third step is prioritize. Okay. So when you're finally going to now prioritize, you have to choose the primary market opportunity, what you want to pursue now. Okay, so that is a pursue now. And based on the attractiveness map, you selected that. You go and discover the product and market relatedness of your other ideas. So in your shortlist, you have 5, 6 ideas. You assess them. So when you say product relatedness, in simple terms, it is same product, new customers, which is one here. The product is the same. I just want to grow more customers. I want to apply to more markets, whatever. Certain products may be very specific to certain markets, so that limits you. But certain products could potentially be applied to different markets with minor changes. So product relatedness is one consideration. The other consideration is market relatedness. Here, this is number 2. Market relatedness is where you serve the same customer with different products. My experience shows that this is the easiest thing to do. Okay, the hardest thing to do is to get new customers. So if your business wants to grow and you are not a great competent person in marketing and sales, this may be a better way to do. So you have few customer relationships and they are deep, and you are able to solve more problems for them with multiple products. That becomes easier as a strategy, right? And you can have a colleague in your team later who probably is a very good person to scale up, say, sales. So that person can help you do one. Yeah. So you have to form the team to do these things. Now talk about the R&D people who are research people and who have a outcome that they are seeking. They are not going to build a product or anything like that. They want to just license that patent or technology to somebody. What they need to do is to think about potential applications and try to do this assessment as much as they can. Okay, this will not be perfect, but make some effort to do that so that you are not going to people without any thinking. Okay, when you're trying to outplace your technology. Now, a question that comes to me all the time is that how do you scale revenue like this? How can you do 100x growth? It looks like infeasible, right? So this is where you have to understand within the context of the previous slide also. You start with one, okay, and then you probably scale using two, and then you can probably also go to three, which is both new market and new places. So if you are able to have this strategy very clear, you can create multiple revenue streams. You are not growing only on one revenue stream. Each revenue stream will slowly grow. Okay. But because of this combination, you can grow fast. And here it talks about your growth from 0 to 1. This is essentially the problem solution fit. Then you have the 1 to 10 when you have the product market fit, and then the business model fit. And then business model fit to thriving. That is when you grow from 10 to 100. Okay. And this journey for a typical technology startup will be about 3 years for the idea to BMF and another maybe 2 to 3 years for the BMF to thriving. For a tech company which is in the digital space or something. If you're in a medical technology company, even this idea to BMF may be easily 7, 8 years because you need a lot of regulatory approvals and all of that to get the product to the market and get revenue, right? So one should know these timelines because they are very, very important. So in the case of a new venture creation, startups or business transformation or diversification, you make the choice on what do you pursue now, what do you want to keep it open, and what do you want to keep in storage. And the next step is you take that opportunity, do a value proposition communication, and start doing customer development. Right? Actually, customer development and value proposition refinement should happen together. They are overlapping. Okay. You keep the value proposition in your mind. Go and explore the problem. Then you discover there may be another place you can help even better. So you change. So it's a very iterative process. In the case of research commercialization, as I said earlier, use MON to design this, and finally it goes into the technology brief. So when you're writing a technology brief for a new material you have invented, okay, and you say that it has a potential application in semiconductor industry, can you go a little bit deeper and say which semiconductor industry, why would that prefer this particular material, what will happen? Try to talk to some customers in that and so on. You may not be able to discover 100 applications of that particular technology if you are not spending too much time in the market, which is perfectly fine because you are a researcher and you have to spend your time in inventing the next material, right? So actually start with one and create the technology brief using that, license it, then things will pick up from there. So what is the big idea here? The big idea here is Market Opportunity Navigator is a business strategy tool. Okay, it helps you determine where to play very clearly and certain aspects of how to win. Okay, so business strategy is about making choices. What should I do? Should I start this company at all? Should I outsource this license? I will just license it. I will partner with somebody and I will take my royalties. Or should I build it myself? Okay, so Market Opportunity Navigator does all of that for you. So these are all the various references. The book is there, and this website contains a treasure of information. Okay, you probably don't need anything else. Okay, this is the application, link to the application. I will show you the application also. And there are a few articles here. I talked about jobs to be done. I talked about, yeah, this is the, Steve Blank is the originator of Lean Startup. So it's an article by him. C.K. Prahlad I mentioned about. And Roger Martin is a strategy guru. He wrote the book Where to Play, How to Win. Okay. So he talks about the strategic leverage. How do you use this and so on. So these articles will be relevant for you to learn more. Okay. And this is work in progress. I'm not going to talk about it in the interest of time. I will let you ask questions. And we are at the last slide. Now, very quickly, I will show you the application so that you get a feel. You can do this yourself. I have used this in about 50 plus situations, and it has been very successful for me and my clients. So, yeah. So this is how it looks. Okay. So here I have a complete worked out example, which is the training example. This particular case here is about a capability, wireless data transfer at 64 megabits per second. So this was the capability my startup wanted to build in November 2000. Okay. And we wanted to deliver data real time predictably. Okay. And we wanted to do data communication at very low latencies. This was what Bluefont, my 2000 startup, was trying to do. And what does that mean? That means today's smartphones and any other devices that you're using to play movies and other video content, including sports events, right? If you want to live stream a sports event, you have to have very low latency connection, real-time predictability, and also high data transfer rates. And we want to do that on wireless, which is 1,000 times more error prone than wires in those days. Okay, today it's everybody has this, so this technology doesn't make much sense. But that is a capability you write. Then you write your applications. Movie distribution is one application. Video conferencing for business could be another application. There can be government applications for managing taluks and all that. So we explored a lot of these, right? And the attractiveness map, if you see here, so here you mark what is high, low, etc. for each thing that you select. So you select the market opportunity here. Suppose you want to do video conference. So it's already primed here, you can see. So it's said this is low, high, etc. So don't worry too much about that. And you also do this overall potential assessment, low and high. Now you can see that you can add notes for each of these, basically to cover things that are special, that's not covered by the tool. You can add your own notes to do that. So this particular opportunity, video conference for business, for MNCs, overall potential is high and overall challenge is low. So this is what we thought at that point of time. Now, coming to worksheet 3, here you select one that you want to pursue, video conference business for MNCs you want to pursue, and compare it with, say, government military applications or movie distribution for Netflix or whatever. So you see what is the product relatedness. So here the product relatedness is very high. So video conference for business, if I can do, for government military, I can do that with the minor changes. They may probably want encryption, they may probably want some other controls, but pretty much they may want the same product. Okay, market relatedness is totally different. One is MNCs, this requires a B2B business skills, whereas market relatedness is totally not there. Here it is government. Okay, so you should know how to deal with that. So we considered that as a growth option. So if our first option, video conference for business, succeeds, okay, we will use it as our growth option. Okay, what if it doesn't succeed? So you have a backup option. So we said movie distribution, distributors Netflix. That's what we'll go. Here, product relatedness is probably not there. It's a highly different product. And market relation also is not there. Okay. But we have to build. This is the example 3. Okay. So that you try to go into some other market, you pivot completely and try to go there. And each of these strategic choices you make, you either pursue now or keep it open or place it in cold storage. Right. For example, government governance we chose to put it in cold storage because that's not the skill the company the team had at that point of time. We didn't have anybody who knew how to deal with the tenders or government or whatever. So once you have done this exercise 1, 2, 3, you will get the highlights like this. Okay, that is, you see all the choices that you made; they are all here. And then here you have the gold mine opportunities. You have the government military is moonshot as we assessed here. Okay. And here, what is in cold storage, what is open, what is pursued now. Yeah. So this is the tool. In about an hour, I have tried to do as best as I can. I hope I could make some sense for you. But you will find wonderful resources at where2play.co. There are very long training programs, case studies, all of that. So good luck. Please use it and reach out to me if I can be of any help. Questions, please.
Thanks, SN. There are 1 or 2 questions in the chat box. Dr. Premnath, are you also able to speak?
Mugdha,
Okay.
go ahead with the questions, please. Yeah.
No, I thought you had any questions. You can go first, but I'll go ahead with the questions.
Preferred, yeah.
Yeah, someone is asking a high impact but simple innovation which is patented. Is it deep tech or not? How do you categorize it?
See, as I told you during the speech, okay, when you say something is deep tech, it is building a new capability. You invented something that didn't exist. It's a new capability. Okay, then it's deep tech. It requires science and technology research. Okay, you have to spend deep and investigations in a particular domain. You worked in the domain for many years. So, for example, inventing a vaccine, etc. So, this particular invention, I can't assess that. So, you can do a self-assessment. Is it something somebody who's reasonably smart can do it without much domain knowledge? Then it is more of an application. But if you think that it requires deep domain knowledge, it requires long years of working, and also it requires it basically impacts a major change, a transformation due to that application. All the examples that I gave you, like the hammer or the pressure cooker, steam, etc., these are all today commodity items that you use. But when they came, they were breakthroughs, right? For the humankind, it was breakthrough. So that's something that you have to think. So when we say deep tech, they are breakthroughs. Okay. Whereas application is what most people do, which is nothing wrong with that, which is solving a practical problem for a customer. Okay.
Okay, thank you, SN. Before we take the next questions, let me alert everyone. My colleague Vedang, he has put the feedback link in the chat box. Please do give us your feedback so that we can curate your suggestions and incorporate them in the upcoming sessions in only one theme. SN, there's one more question in the chat box. Just a moment. What is the right time to license the innovation if the founder has less fund or capability to manufacture?
Exactly. So that is exactly what MON will help you decide. Okay. So one has to take a call as to, is it something I can do or not? If the resources required is very high, that's not my competence, I want to license. First, you patent it. It's very, very important that you cover it by a proper patent. On the other hand, if you want to keep it as a trade secret, because you don't want to make the invention public, you can keep it as trade secret as well. Okay. And then you should have mechanisms to manage the secrecy. How will you will have to disclose it to somebody for you to sell it, right? So you don't have to disclose the details of how you do it, but you can describe the details of what it can do, right? And there is nothing like when you can, if you are reached TRL 3, you can start talking to customers. Okay, I'm referring back to the TRL stack. The TRL 3 you should start talking so that you can start doing TRL 4 onwards in the context of a customer. Okay, so suppose you have invented the same earlier thing like increasing boiling point with high pressure steam. So if you want to go in the home route, then you're going to make a home cooker. Okay, so that will be the TRL 4 onwards. TRL 4 onwards to 9 will happen by designing a home food cooker. Okay, and then you will have to see how to take it to the market. Now, if you are saying that, I don't have the abilities to take it to the market, I don't want to build a company, I want to license it. What you can do is at the end of your market validation, you reach TRL 11.9. Okay, that means you've actually validated in a real market context, it's acceptable to others. At that point, you can license that product completely to somebody else to manufacture. Okay, that's also possible. So you have opportunity to license a technology or license a product. Does it make sense?
Yeah. SN, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a situation where the market is yet to come? Right? So let's say that something is going to shape up into a large market in the next 5 years, but today's markets don't look as large, right? Which is the normal case with many startups. Right? How do you analyze such a thing when you're looking for markets to target when you're doing marketing of it?
Okay. So first thing we have to understand here is when we say something is a market and the market is not ready, what it means is the people with the JTBD, you have to first understand what is their JTBD. So let me take the example of home laundry. Okay, I can give my clothes to laundry, somebody can come collect it and return by the evening, right? So that could be done. I can invent the entire solution for that, and I may even have some deep tech inventions in that. Okay, the way I do laundry, all that can be great. Okay, now I have done deep tech inventions in how to manage the cloth very well and so on. Okay, but if you notice in India, there is Swiggy, Zomato, and so many other people delivering food and this and that, but you don't see a laundry company. Okay, not very popular. Similarly popular. What is the reason? Because the JTBD of the customer is to get their clothes cleaned and ironed and given to them. And that a maid servant will do much cheaper. Okay, and they're happy with that. They're entirely in their control. There's a washing machine and a maid servant. Is their competition. Okay, so in this particular case, you have to think about the experience. Can I improve the experience? Will the customer give me a better price? Yeah, the maid servant can do it and it is happening at a certain level of quality. Can I do this at a much higher level of quality and service? And they have to innovate service first. Okay, and that service is successful, or you can innovate a product. You can create a product that does that extremely well. Yeah. So, for example, if you have invented ways to launder clothes much better, perhaps you can sell to the hotels first. Make a product which goes into hotels where they do a lot of laundry every day. So we could probably create that product. So this is the kind of thinking one has to do. So you are searching the market space in doing that. So the second thing that happens is the hype of the technology. So sometimes we say, yeah, the technology is there and we can completely transform the world. So you are either starting from the problem end or you're starting from the technology end. When you're starting from the problem end, your market has to be determined through rigorous customer development. If you have not done a good customer development, you will not be able to market that technology to anybody. Because your hypothesis saying that, as I told you earlier, I have invented a material for semiconductor industry. That is not the level at which I can talk. If I have the inventor of the material and I believe semiconductor industry will benefit from it, to that extent, you either collaborate with somebody or take somebody else's help, do a research on the semiconductor industry and write down which 5 semiconductor industries are probably good candidates for this, and send your technology brief to them and talk their language. Okay, but if you can't find it, you have to find help for that. There's no other way. On the other hand, very often companies fail also because of this hype cycle. They will catch the technology very early. Okay, if you catch the technology very early, whatever hype was given, it may not really actually work on the ground. Okay, see, for example, I gave the example of blockchain, right? Why blockchain adoption is still slow? The blockchain has been there for a few years now. Okay, if you go and try to analyze, you will find a combination of these. There are certain things which are not mature enough. The performance is not mature enough. Certain applications have big resistance in market. All of that. So this whole pushback from the market is due to this reason. Either it is because they can do this in a much better way. There is no delta 4. There's no difference. Okay. So as I told you earlier, the delta 4 example I give here, somewhere here I talked about. Yeah. This Kunal says delta 4 talks about that. Okay. So that application must be customer developed. This is the process you should use. Go for customer discovery and understand that. On the other hand, if you are starting on the technology side, you should know on this hype cycle where they are. So if you're a lab, you probably are at TRL 3 or 4. Okay. So you must get a partner, if you don't want to do it yourself, to take you to TRL 9. Okay. And that is the point at which you can license the technology to that very same company, or maybe somebody else, right? And the important aspect to consider here is the need for collaboration. Each of us are individuals with our own limited talents. We don't know everything, we don't have all the talents. So have that humility and collaborate with others who can complement you in what you're doing. Does it answer?
Yeah, SN, I have one other question, which is that there's often a dilemma for many startups. When they start, and by the way, I have a view on this, but I think you have a different view. So I thought I'll ask you this question, which is that you do your market analysis, you find that there is a particular market which looks large, right? And then you do your value proposition analysis and you find that the value proposition is strongest for something which is not the largest market, right? So the question in front of a startup is, should they focus on that which is a value where the value proposition is strongest but market is not large, or should they go with a large market where the value proposition is not as sharp and strong because they're trying to meet too many requirements in that particular market, right?
Yeah.
So question is, what would you choose and how would you go about it?
This is the tool that you use here. So you will use Market Opportunity Navigator and you will create this chart. Okay. So the example that you said is, I have an opportunity which is a large market. Okay. And I have another opportunity which is a niche market. So the characteristic of these markets is you have to understand the Maslow's need hierarchy. So as we talked about earlier, JTBD, job to be done, is a concept. It's a very interesting concept. So let us look at the case of knowing time. I want to know time. That's a capability I want. Okay. My JTBD is I need to know time. So I can look at my mobile phone and I know the time. Okay. That may be one kind of person I am. Okay. Another person may say I need to have a watch. I'm used to having a watch and looking at the watch. So that person could potentially buy a watch. Then you also have Rolex watch. Somebody can spend several lakhs to buy a watch. And why are they buying that watch? They are certainly not buying for knowing time, right? So in the case of niche markets, where the value proposition is very strong, example is Rolex, they are likely to be highly profitable as so. So you do the unit economics for that particular product, the gross margin, the contribution margin individual product will give is very high. Whereas the other one, which has a large market, value proposition is not very strong, then your profitability will also be not very strong. People will not pay a big price for it, right? So you have a low price product, say like a Timex watch or a Titan watch, right? It's a volume play. In that case, they have a lower margin and a larger market. Both are economically interesting. So you have to actually put the number and see the economic value and also the challenges associated with it. What are the challenges to build a Rolex business versus what are the challenges to build a simple watch business, right? So all of that you can do using this in detail. If you go through the table, you will see this. Say, for example, here, uh, give me a second. This worksheet 2 is where you will be assessing this. So these examples are here. So what is the compelling reason to buy? You can add notes here. Okay. What is the market volume? What is the economic viability? This is exactly where you will talk about your margin opportunity. Okay. And then you make an overall decision, do an assessment of potential. So you know your overall profitability of the business. You can assess the economic value. So the economic value for option 1 versus option 2, you can easily compare using numbers and then make a choice as which one you want to pursue. There is no definitive answer because it's all the capability of the entrepreneur as well. And the advantage in this particular model is that whenever you don't want to go to market immediately, let's say you did this assessment, and whatever you are putting in this place storage, that is something you can license out to somebody else. There may be other companies who may be interested to do that. So you can license it out to them. Okay. Whereas something else inside. So this decision, this prioritization doesn't mean you stop doing this. You can still license out to somebody else, help them to build it through a partnership. Does it answer?
Yeah. Actually, there are a few more questions, but what we are doing, SN backend, we are taking those questions in an email and we will pass it on to you. We have already spilled over by 10 minutes for more. I think it's not good to
You
hold you
can
back.
finish. You can finish
Sorry.
the questions if SN is available.
Yeah, I'm happy
Actually,
to answer all the questions. Okay. And people who want to drop off can drop off. I think that will be easier. So let me take the chat and try to answer from there. So, sir, I'm Anthony, research scholar. I'm working as an assistive technology working on lever-propelled manual wheelchair. I have filed published patent. I don't know how to proceed with technology transfer. Please contact me or contact Venture Center. That will be my answer. So Venture Center can help you. I can help you. Learn from us and take it forward. Please write to Parekh. Already Kavita Parekh has answered for that. And then type your question in the chat. Yeah, high impact, simple innovation that we already talked about. What is the right time to license? We talked about. How will we get access to the reference links? You'll get it after the session. Venture Center will send it to you. Okay, so please request Mugda or organizers. Yeah, Mugda has already given the feedback form. We are process that we want to license, but there is no trust. Then should we demonstrate? Please comment. See, this is a very, very important psychological question. Okay. For anything to progress, you need to have psychological safety, right? And this lack of trust is a real thing. Okay. It's not that I'm wishing it away. Okay. So one has to do that cautiously, take help. If you are really worried about trust, then you should sign up a lawyer to support you on your side, who has experience in technology transfer. Okay, and they can advise you correctly. See, most of the time, what I have found with technologists is that they have no respect for any other function, and they don't want to pay any money for anybody else. Okay, they think they are the God's gift to universe, and everybody else is basically out there, right? So that thinking is not going to help. So we are technologists, of course, we are very good in what we do, and we know it all very well. But of course, there are people who are in the marketing, commercial side. There are people who are on the legal side, regulatory side. All of them bring very, very deep knowledge. And the design of human community is an interdependent community. It's about interdependence, and the most successful teams are interdependent teams, not individuals. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Take help wherever you feel it is not the right thing to do. So high impact 100 crore simple innovation in deep tech or a rocket science with zero commercial success deep tech and why government is so focused in deep tech only. I hope I answered this question well. But deep tech is very important to fan the economy of the country, and I will not agree that government is only focused on deep tech. So far, government has put a lot of money behind Startup India program, helping all kinds of startups. Okay, just go to Startup India website to get more details. There are something like 1,500 incubators in this country. Okay, and these 1,500 incubators are mostly funded through government grants and various schemes. Okay, and the startups there are all not deep tech startups. We don't have enough deep tech startups in the real sense in our country. We don't have enough research commercialization happening from universities. We don't have enough directional guidance for universities to do meaningful research, right? So there's a lot to be done, and 100 crore is very, very small amount of money. Okay. See, the kind of funding required will be much, much higher. Very recently, Government of India announced a scheme with venture capitalists, consortium venture capitalists, to fund semiconductor manufacturing out of India. Okay. And that will lead to a lot of deep tech work. But the real work is not anything deep tech. It's about setting up a complete infrastructure for manufacturing semiconductors in India. And it's very strategic for India. We are only about 40 years old, or 40 years too late, is what I would say. Right. So these things happen. So don't be too negative about it. Who to approach to sell technology in a company? Again, as I said, please contact Venture Center. They have a technology transfer help. They can help you how to do this. And Dr. Premnath has also done a video in the same series. You can go back and see how to form a technology transfer organization in a company or in a university, how to form a team, what kind of skills are required, how to do it. So there is also a video that you will see in the only series. So please go back and check. Otherwise, write to Venture Center, they will help you. Okay. What early signals tell you that chosen opportunity is actually the wrong direction, but too much time lost? Okay. If you have done a good customer development, you will not face this problem. But the only person who can tell whether you are in the right direction or wrong direction is a paying customer. Nobody else. Okay. So if you are not getting paying customers, you are not able to get sign up for that, there is something wrong. You are probably in the wrong direction. Okay. And your understanding of the JTBD, how deeply do you understand why customers buy? Okay. You are not selling, it's actually customers buying. Okay. Just think about yourself, whatever you bought, right? You bought for a reason, which is only very specific to you. So you have to understand that the signals about customer buying has to be got by the founder. And this is not a sales job. Please misunderstand it as a sales job. Sales is a very process-oriented job. This is not sales job. This is customer development. Understanding the problem space, value for the customer. If you are developing a learning assistive device using natural language programming AI for neurodivergent students, is it deep tech? Does it come under assistive tech or medical device or normal learning device? Again, I will go back to understanding your value proposition. You are welcome to contact me. I'm happy to talk with you. We can discuss about this. If your idea requires technology development, research at a deep level, then it is deep tech. But you may be able to discover initially a lot of available technologies that you can license and use. Then you are doing an application innovation. And there is nothing special about deep tech. Please don't get the feeling that deep tech is more valuable than the application tech. It's nothing like that. Economic value depends on consumption, whether it is a technology, whether it is a product or a service. Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I think SN, those were all the questions. What we have also put up in the chat box once more is the feedback link. And next Tuesday, coming Tuesday, 16th December would be the immediate next session, next talk in the Only One Theme talk series, which will be around customer discovery for research-based technologies. And we are very thankful to SN for having this session next Tuesday at 4 p.m. So we will meet again on next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Thank you, SN, for your time, and thank you for joining us in spite of your you not being very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank God that I didn't have any problem. I was a little
We
concerned.
were also keeping our fingers crossed so that we would be able to complete the session also. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for all the participants.
Yes, and we'll meet on next Tuesday, immediate next Tuesday, which is 16th of December at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.